Welcome to the ConfigureITDone Podcast. The ConfigureITDone Podcast is a place where successful thought leaders in the SAP space come to share their leadership styles, their tips, and their unique stories on how to run successful large-scale SAP programs. Listen to the podcast to learn from their successes, their failures, their career stories, and their inspirations.
This podcast is in partnership with the Black Dog Institute, who aim to create a mentally healthier world for everyone. If you wish to support the cause, please donate via the link below.
Hello, Season 5, Episode 1 of the ConfigureITDone Podcast. Can't believe we're on Season 5. How quick?
Yeah, it's wild.
Quick's that gone?
That is wild.
Yeah, started this in COVID, in lockdown. No, actually before COVID.
Before?
Yeah. During COVID, obviously went virtual, and then we're back in the office in Season 4. Still in the office, Season 5. We're not gone back in yet, which is good.
Fingers crossed you'll see a new office soon. I don't know. Talk to my finance director, though. Anyone's got any good real estate, please let us know.
We are looking, aren't we?
Yeah, we're desperate at the moment.
Yeah.
Meetings in the lobby. Someone said I was in a closet the other day. Connotations, I don't know, but we'll find out. Yeah,
the team is growing, and we came in, was it last Wednesday, and there wasn't enough desks. So, meetings in the lobby at the moment. And, we need a new office for sure.
Post-COVID things.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. Anyway, we've doing a topic today, a new topic. Normally, we have leaders in the SAP space. We have got a leader in the SAP space with Sara today, our colleague. Nice to have you on, Sara.
Thanks.
And we're talking about the SAP Talent Survey.
Mm-hmm.
So, for those that are watching or listening, tell us about the SAP Talent Survey, the background, Sara, and what do we do?
So we do it every year, and it essentially gives a snapshot of what the market's feeling, not just for what kind of roles do you go for, but all the little bits and bobs, remote work, contract, perm, salary, technology. We try to send out a survey that covers as much information about the market that we can then feed back to not just candidates, but clients too. We send it out to 6,000 plus coder candidates every year. So you've probably got it in your inbox now and you may not know. Or you've got probably 5 or 6 and you may not know. But really, it gives a snapshot for what the market's feeling at the moment. Just a bit of a finger on the pulse that we then get to use, for recruitment needs, but also just market information. Information is power these days.
So not a standard salary survey.
Yeah, it's not your salary check. It asks you about your drivers, what you want to look for in another role. Is it technology? Is it remote work? Is it flexibility? Men, women, age brackets, how many years experience do you have, certifications? It covers everything. And it really does give an excellent insight into the mind of an SAP professional in Australia.
Cool. All right. Now, before we go into the talent survey, I just want to bring up a very subjective topic that we're talking about in the office at the moment, and that's dress code. So just to bring everyone up to speed, I feel that the dress code has changed since COVID. All right. Before COVID, I would wear, for instance, a shirt and a tie. I know ladies in the office were very, very formal as well. I think COVID, working from home, I think we've all we've worked in what we feel comfortable in now. And now we've come back to the office. I feel everyone has changed and the world has changed. So I'd love to get your views on dress code in the SAP market.
I really struggle with this question, which I brought it up in our team meeting. I think that it is unfortunately subjective. As some of you may or may not know, I have a few tattoos. And I remember working in retail when I was 18 or 19. I started to get some tattoos. My manager, who was completely tatted up, every single limb was covered, raised a really good point, which I've carried with me forever. She said, if you get tattoos or if you get a wild haircut or if you're putting something a little bit of a toe outside of the norm, everything else needs to be raised a level. Because if you start getting heaps of tattoos, but then you just walk out in ratty sneakers and ratty jeans and a hoodie, all of a sudden you've crossed a line in society wherein you do get judged. And also, I am also quite a judgy person. And I'm also a believer of judging a book by its cover because covers are there. A lot of thought goes into a book cover. I've never understood that metaphor. Covers are meant to be judged. What you put forward, I think, does say something about you. So, having said that, though, I think everyone can dress in a certain way. If you put 2 different people in T-shirts and in jeans, depending on how they carry themselves, it's presented in a very different light, in a very different fashion. So I, for example, today I'm wearing a pencil skirt and a relatively smart top. I do have sneakers on. Did Jay raise an eyebrow at that? Maybe they need to be cleaned. Maybe they're not clean enough, the sneakers.
It's such a subjective
it's
topic.
so hard. I think it's so emotive, because you'll get, men, I'm in the thought camp of like, it's so much easier for men. It's so much easier. You just put the shirt, the jumper, and the pants on. 9 times out of 10, that's a very safe bet. Whereas I think for women, it is much more of a voice to express yourself.
Yeah,
I can get dampened.
I don't know. Like before, if I rewind 2.5 years ago, before COVID,
same thing every day.
I'd literally wear white shirt,
navy pants,
cufflinks, navy pants,
brown
navy jacket, shoes.
That's it.
And that was it. And I remember I had 5 shirts. I used to take them to the dry cleaners, get them washed and ironed every week.
Yeah.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and that was it. And the reason why I'd done that was because I didn't have to think in the morning when I was getting ready. And that was me. And it was just so easy. And then after COVID, I'd wear a suit jacket, but I'd wear chinos, or I'd wear like jeans, for instance, but still smart.
Jeans today.
I'm wearing jeans today, yeah. Like, I'd never wear this before
before
COVID. So, like, I'll give the example yesterday. I think everyone, myself included, has dropped 5%. But where did was the starting line? For instance, if I wore this before COVID and I dropped another 5%, I'm in t-shirts, or so it is subjective. Like,
but I think the
where's the line?
market's dropped with us, which kind of levels out the playing field a little bit. Do you want to rock up in a full suit when the person that you're meeting has come in chinos and a polo? Mm-hmm. And is that a little bit of a power move, where you've like unintentionally set yourself one above, and then does that feed into the connotations of the conversation? Do they make assumptions? Either way, it's a book to be judged.
Yeah, true. I remember going to a techie office, for a tech company, and I was in that suit probably about 3 years ago, and everyone in there just turned around and looked at me, and I was like, I am so overdressed.
It's like if you walked into there like Atlassian, you'd be judged immediately, and you'd be like, you're not one of us, kind of thing. Super weird, but it's true. So bizarre.
I bet Atlassian would love that.
And I was just thinking, as I said, I was like, should I say the company?
All right. Anyway, so we're here for the talent survey. So I'm just going to throw up a couple of stats here, Sara, and then we can go into some of the insights, because what we normally do is, present the insights either at an event or when we're on a client meeting. So this is a huge, huge topic, and it's been a real problem in the SAP community now forever. And that's a male versus female ratio. So the stat here, 80% of the SAP market are actually male. Okay. Coming along to a recruiter like yourself, Sara, what's it like when a client says to you, we must hire women?
I think it comes from the right place. It 100% does. I also think, unfortunately, it is an unrealistic conversation to have at times. I think that can be said for the majority of STEM. And I think that this conversation stems to like a real, challenge that we have in the market, not just with men versus women, but also like youth, particularly I think for SAP would be a very similar trend. The reality is that, should I say it? SAP isn't a sexy technology anymore. I said it. It's not. It's not. People who are starting in IT don't immediately, SAP is something that I want to learn, or SAP is something that I maybe want to do. I think a lot of people fall into this technology, and I think that is what has contributed to this stat of 80% are men, because when SAP hit the shores in Australia 25-ish years ago, it was a CIO coming into the IT room, which would have been in the corner of the office at that time, going, 1, 2, 3, you guys are on our SAP program now. They would have just plucked IT and made them SAP. Those people are still in those roles today. They're still in SAP doing those roles today. And those people at that time would have been men. So when a client does come to me and is like, oh, look, we really, really want to see a woman, you know, either as an option or we want to only see women, I think that that can be a dangerous conversation. You've then got positive discrimination, which is a very slippery slope, and I could talk hours about that. But then you also do have the question of, what are you actually doing to get women into this market, though? Mm-hmm. What are you offering? What would influence a woman to start picking up SAP as a technology or as a platform and using that as her career platform? Because I think that that's really what you should be offering. It's all well and good to say, oh, well, we're going to bolster it, but where are you getting these women from? Mm-hmm. And where are they going to come into the market exactly? Mm-hmm. And how are you going to keep them there?
So there are 20% obviously women in the SAP community. In your mind, Sara, how do you, as a client, attract more women into your business? Like, what are the insights and what can you do to attract more women?
So I think that something really key is something simple that we should probably be doing more as an SAP market. Talk to your end users. Talk to your end users who use SAP and upskill, because guaranteed, I reckon that stat would be maybe not a full 50-50, but you'd be looking at a higher percentage of women who use SAP, at least more than 20%, surely. And then I think that opens up a discussion which needs to be happening across the market, not just for women, but also like just junior consultants. Look to your end users. Yes, you know, partner with your universities and graduate programs and everything like that. But consider upskilling. Consider investing in your staff and ask them, well, who here in the HR team maybe wants to learn success factors? I think you'd see more hands go up than down. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I think that that's a really important conversation that needs to happen. If you want to get more women into your team, start asking the women that are already there. Maybe don't consider going outside of market to find someone at the exact level that you're looking at with the exact skill and the exact kind of, background that you're looking for. Instead, consider training from within. And I think that will then facilitate way more diversity in this market than going to the same existing talent pool that's been there for 25 years. Yeah.
Well, that existing talent pool, like I mentioned earlier, there are 20% of women in there, and I think a really good, really simple thing that you can do is work on your marketing. So if you've got experienced women within your team that have done well, perform well on a project, I think you should be shouting from the rooftops about them. And LinkedIn's a great platform for that recognition, putting out a post about a high performer. And especially if you're looking to attract more women into your team, like I said, sing from the rooftops about high performing women in your team, and that will work. And the reason why I say that's not just me just throwing out a random insight. I remember when I joined Precision 8 years ago, and it was a boys' club. It really was. And I know the recruitment industry was very similar to SAP like that. It was literally male dominated, and over 8 years we've completely changed that culture, and we've completely changed the way that we do celebrate success. And that is transformed, and we have got a very, very good balance. I think we're 60-40 in favour of women at the moment, which is brilliant. And it's just this very, very simple tip and insight to promote. It has worked, because there are women out there.
There are 100% women out there. My only worry is when we start saying, celebrate the success of women. It's that terrible part. It's probably, it's a founded fear, but I think that a lot of women, when they start hearing things like, oh, well, celebrate your successes, shout it from the rooftop, there's very much a tall poppy syndrome. Mm-hmm. And I feel like, I definitely feel sometimes if I've put out like a successful post on LinkedIn or something like that, where I am celebrating success, there's always a little voice in the back of my head that says, is a guy out there reading this and saying, well, I don't ever get success touted about what I do, and I'm still doing the same job. And then it does become that positive discrimination debate in my head where I'm like, am I just celebrating this because it's a woman, or am I celebrating it because it's worthy of celebrating.
Yeah,
and I think that I think that that's the discussion that also needs to happen, because then I think that that's the risk when we do, as recruiters here, we only want to see women. We're very much of the belief of we should be putting the best person forward, though.
100%.
Like and I think that is where it starts to harm the cause, because if you are there for simply a diversity quota, are you doing that for the right reasons? Do you want to be there for that reason? But then there's also a big part of me where it's just like, it's an uphill battle, and you got to take what you can. If that's the system and that's how it's been set up, and the system hasn't necessarily been working to your favor, but now there's an opening, do you capitalize?
Yeah, I love that. Like my personal thoughts, I don't see gender, I don't see color, for instance. Are you the best person for the role? Yes or no. And the more we do talk about it, yes, I get it. It's a huge topic. We do need to talk about it. But yeah, that's my personal view, is are you the best person for the role, regardless of gender, color, race, religion? Are you the best person for the role? Yes or no? And that's it. Yeah. Anyway, let's move on, because we could speak for hours about that. This is a good one. Now, there's a lot of debate in the market at the moment, and a lot of heat around salaries and rates, and they're going up, and a lot of consultants are, I deserve more, I deserve this, I deserve that.
My friend's getting interviewed at this salary.
Nightmare, absolute nightmare.
The worst.
But I want to bring it back to what the SAP talent are actually motivated by, okay? Because it's quite surprising, it's not always remuneration. In fact, only 20%, 1 in 5, are actually motivated by the dollars. So, Sara, let's talk about this. So, 35% are motivated by technology. What's your views on that when speaking to candidates?
So it's kind of the same when I speak to both candidates and clients, because often it's actually the first question that comes up. Either way, it's just like, tell me about the market. I've been hearing crazy things. Our rate's really going up that much. Our salary is really going up that much. From a candidate point of view, the question is always, what's the market rate at the moment? Not a bad question, but like such a loaded question.
Yeah.
So
if I could remove one thing, quote from the market, it is market rate.
It would be market rate. Yeah. I just think that it's such a damaging question, because I'm a really firm believer of, you bring to the market your own expectation. No one's got your circumstances. No one's got exactly your mortgage. Yeah. No one's got exactly the school fees that you're paying. No one's got all the little ins and outs that make your situation an individual situation. So I think whenever a client says to me, oh, well, this is what the market's paying, or whenever a candidate says, this is what the market is telling me, I'm just like, what does that mean? Who is the market? What market are you talking about?
And the client side as well.
Yeah.
No two roles. As I said, you could have a FICO role in client A,
100%.
a FICO role in client B, but the scope's different, the project's different, the stakeholders are different, the location's different, the timing's different, the pressure's different, the supply's different, everything is different. So no two roles are the same.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same.
No, 100%. So I think that when that question comes up of like remuneration and what should we be paying, I think a really common thread throughout this whole talent survey, don't paint everyone by the same brush. If I could give one message to the market, candidate and client, start actualizing your own individual situation. Because I think that, it says it right there. Only 20% really looks at remuneration, yet it's still probably one of the first
I just think people want a fair wicket. That's it.
Agreed. And they want to see, well, if I'm a manager and I'm hiring someone and my CEO has somehow signed off on 20K more than me, of course that's going to start to create some tension. So I think that people need to be more transparent about what they're making. I think about it as a recruiter. One of the first questions we ask, cool, what are you making? And people are like, oh yeah, I make this. And you're like, great. I don't know what any of my friends make. I think it's a really scary question to talk about outside of this.
You are a recruiter, Sara.
I know.
You're not going to be interviewing your mates.
That's true, but like, why do we not talk about it? Why do we not talk about it? Why is it whispered of like in hallways? Like, oh, did you hear this person got offered 20K more than what I'm on?
Yeah.
And I think that's where a lot of the like tension between salaries and daily. Oh, actually, you know what? Contractors are different because contractors, I feel like, actually, I will say this: contractors just know. They just know this is what I want. Anything below, they're like, nah, it's not for me. And then it's great, and then you can kind of just part ways. You're like, cool, it's not for you.
It is difficult. Sorry, you couldn't be on a client site openly talking about salaries because, like you said, it does create a lot of. It is an emotive topic.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be, but it is. And if you're on a project and you know that XYZ person over there is getting paid 40 grand more than yourself, but you've contributed a lot more, it does create a lot of tension. So yeah, I don't think you can openly speak about salary, especially on a project site.
Agree to disagree. I think that if we spoke about it more, it would become less emotive.
You think?
I think if it was less hidden, it would become more just normalized to speak about. I will say this though. I think a lot of clients and a lot of candidates do worry about like the dollars first, when in reality, if you're offering a good piece of tech as a project, if you're a good leader, which has become really important to the market at the moment, if you are offering work from home flexibility, if you're offering like good transparency in terms of the role and the roadmap for the next 5 years, chances are you've ticked like 4 out of 5 boxes.
Yeah, that's what the talent survey says. Yeah, because obviously 1 in 5 remuneration, but it says here if you're offering remote or flexible work, a good leader, and then you've got the latest and greatest technology.
Yeah, that's the other 80%.
It's literally 80%. So 4 times out of 5, you're going to hire somebody, which is great.
I do tell clients if they're struggling to meet the market rate, what else can you offer? And I think it's become a real challenge now. I think interviews have become selling discussions.
100%.
How well can you not just sell yourself as a candidate. Obviously, that's always been there. And I'm a real firm believer in that, like, interviews test your interview skills. They're often not great reflections on the type of work that you do.
Yeah.
Because you're never going to be put in an interview situation in your job unless you're us again. Whereas I think that way more importantly now, as a leader, if you're hiring, you need to know what your selling points are. If you can't rattle off the top of your head your key incentives for long-term staff, your parental policies, your work from home policies, like all of that stuff benefits, it's so crucial. It's so crucial for a candidate to hear that, not just from the recruiter, but from the actual person that they're going to be working with.
A topical example. So last week, like one of the SAP consultants in our team, SAP recruiters in our team, she was working with a small HCM consultancy, and they took a candidate through an interview process, and she put the consultant forward for 130k in terms of a salary because that's what they were receiving in the last role. Anyway, the client interviewed them. They spoke about the benefits. They spoke about the flexibility. Obviously, a fantastic leader, and the way they articulated the story and where they wanted to take the small consultancy and where they want to be in 5 years, it got the consultant bought in. So much so that they accepted 20k less, so 110k. Yeah. So, like, again, technology, lean on that. If you're a good leader, lean on that. And then, the flexible and remote working. And again, like I said, SAP talent, they just want a fair wicket at the end of the day. So, that was a really good topical example. All right, let's go into it again. So, you choose one, Sarah. What should we talk about next?
Oh, you know what? Where does SAP talent live? I actually think that's going to be quite an interesting one because I've seen, not just in my friends, but like in the people that we now work with, it's been a pretty big mass exodus from the major capital cities of Australia. Sydney. There's been a pretty mass exodus from Sydney. I've had a lot of friends moving to Brisbane. I've had a lot of friends Melbourne, some overseas, but even within our office, we've now hired in Melbourne. Abby lives in Brisbane. She's abandoned us. Joel, our associate director, lives in the Central Coast. I think this again speaks to the importance of flexibility when you're looking at a work arrangement, because it really did prove, COVID did prove that, like, you don't need to be where your bosses are necessarily. anymore. I think it's become an old conversation. Having said that, I do still have the odd client who is in your Adelaides and in your, not necessarily, but your Canberras becoming a big one. I think that as we now settle into this new norm, I'm getting more questions about fly in, fly out, clients preferring, could we have someone on site more or less for 3 or 4 days a week? But then you take that to the candidate and they're like, well, I'm working 100% remote now. I do not leave my house. I work my own hours. I think that we might start seeing a bit more of a divide now between, as projects start to really kick off, we're looking at BTP, we're looking at S4HANA support cutting off in 2027. I think we're going to see a lot more of a disconnect between where people are living and where they're going to start working again. Yeah,
Canberra's always been challenging. I've recruited for a few of the federal clients down there. It's always been a challenge. Only nearly 3% of the market live in Canberra.
Yeah, and the rest commute. And
then you've got the added challenge of most of the federal clients need citizens. I'll come back to the COVID thing. We proved that we can deliver projects remote, and now we've come out of that into the new normal. We're still getting requirements now. They have to be at the office. And the challenge is, from a candidate side, even if you've worked for a Canberra client before and used to fly in, fly out, you've got used to being at home. Try and get these people back to Canberra is very, very difficult.
Yeah, 100%.
And I've never, ever got why a permanent resident couldn't work on a federal client. So it just blows my mind.
That's a whole other thing. Yeah. That's a whole other thing. Yeah. I just think that really what you hear as a candidate now, when you hear a client say, I want them to be in the office, I think it comes down to that trust piece. Because the question just has to become, why? We've done this for the last 2. It works, guys. It works. Our productivity, actually, I think we're a really good example. Precision sourcing was anti-work from home. And it was like a real blanket statement. And it was, if one person can do it, we should all be able to do it. If one of us can't, none of us can.
I think most of the SAP community was.
Yeah, I think most of the working world was. Yeah, exactly. Rarely when you heard a friend who was like, oh my God, you're working from home?
Smirking from home.
What? Yeah, exactly. And now that we have proven that we can do it, it has become the norm. And I think the market's better for it. Work-life balance is something that should be celebrated from the rooftops. So, yeah. If you're a client that's genuinely pushing a solid work-life balance, I think you're actually now at the norm. But again, it's different strokes for different folks. Mm-hmm. Could you do your job better from somewhere else? I think that's it. Could you do your job as good or better? And I think that work from home flexibility is showing productivity go up, but it's seeing mental health go up, quality of life. These are things that you cannot put a dollar price on. For me personally, I don't think that you can swap that out anymore.
Good point. I like it. So listen, we've been going for 35 minutes now, I think it is. And our market manager, Andriana's looking at us saying, wrap it up, hurry up. She needs to get to the next meeting. But now that was brilliant. Thank you for that today.
No worries.
We'll put this out to the market, see what you guys think.
Hopefully you liked it. It's a little bit of a different flavor, but hopefully this gives you a bit of an insight as to the conversations that we're having day in, day out with people like you who are listening, hopefully.
And then, we'll put a new talent survey up in the new financial year. So, look out for that talent survey in your inbox. I think we've got 6,000 people on the database now, so that's brilliant. So, look out for that talent survey. Thank you for those that completed it this year. And, we'll be back.
Have a good one.
See you later.